a donde me lleve el pueblo voy.
Lo poco que doy le ofrezco con alegría y encanto. Al pueblo le doy mi canto, porque al pueblo pertenezco.
Soy del pueblo, pueblo soy, y a donde me lleve el pueblo voy.
Con alegría serena canto lo que el pueblo siente y canto porque el presente no es de llanto ni es de pena.
Soy del pueblo, pueblo soy, y a donde me lleve el pueblo voy. Soy del pueblo, pueblo soy, y a donde me lleve el pueblo voy.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome, welcome. What a beautiful video. So beautiful. Thank you all. Welcome to today's event. My name is Dr. Maria Elena Cruz. I'm so happy and honored to be your MC tonight. We would like to share some quick logistical information. We have enabled the closed captions for your convenience, which is available only in English. Sorry, not in Spanish or Spanglish or Calo or Spanglish, right? Our bilingual fluidity, it doesn't translate, sorry. You'll see that in the chat. You have the option to opt out if you wish not to be with the CC symbol. It's at the bottom of your screen. And if you need extra help, Adriana is our tech person and she will be happy to help you with that. We also have some quick community agreements here that I'll go over. We're going to be recording this event, so this would be the time if you want to change your name or you want to add the beautiful backdrop that I have here and that many of us have here in Comunidad, please do that. That link will be on the chat on the side as well, so please join us if you'd like to be part of that and put that in your back screen. So you could use that for your Zoom. Okay, well, showtime. We're going to get started. Again, my name is Maria Elena Cruz. I will be your MC along with Carlos Velasquez. We lovingly welcome to the 4th annual 2021 Luis El Machete Valdez Annual Speaker Series that seeks to honor the work and accomplishments of people of Mexican ancestry in the areas of social justice, community involvement, cultura, politics, and the arts. Past speakers have included Luis Valdez, of course, Blanca Alvarado, and Dr. Jose Carrasco. This year's guest speakers will be the members of the San Jose-based Flor del Pueblo. Yay! One of the most influential musical ensembles of the Chicano Movement, whose music inspired activism for social justice with local roots and have an intergenerational reach for sure. The committee's mission is to recover and disseminate the history of ethnic Mexicans in the Santa Clara Valley. As part of this mission, we want to honor and the work of the accomplishments of the Mexican people here and the ancestry, right? And we have an extensive record of involvement in areas of social justice, community, cultura, politics, and of course, the arts. The committee worked really hard to bring this beautiful group today for you and to have this beautiful, wonderful plática. We also want to thank our co-sponsors and leadership that have helped us put this together, which is the San Jose Chicano Studies Department, Aspire McNair Trio Programs, La Raza Historical Society of Santa Clara Valley, SJSU School of Music and Dance, the Department of Anthropology, and the Department of Sociology and Interdisciplinary Social Sciences here at San Jose State. We are now going to acknowledge this beautiful land that some of us are on here in I'm in San Jose Greater Bay Area. So I will now pass the mic over to Adriana. Gracias, Adriana, for the land acknowledgement.
Buenas tardes. So good to be here with all of you. Appreciate being in community in an intergenerational space, no, as we We honor the cultura made in Sanjo with so much love. And so we would like to take this moment to note that we humbly do this work in Ohlone Nation, that we recognize where we live, where we work and play and study is in the Tamian land. Original earth stewards are the Muwekma Ohlone tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area. And they continue this beautiful legacy, being grounded in relationship with the land. We understand that we do this work with the contradiction that we're in occupied territory, that there was a massacre and a genocide of Ohlone people, that Western definitions of political borders were created after the destruction of their familias, their loved ones, through conquest and settler colonialism. In essence, the first gentrification, ¿no? Pero aún así no se dejaron y no se rajaron. Ohlone peoples are, as the original caretakers, model their love and respect for this land in this intergalactic, ancestral world. And we try to connect with the current generation of Ohlone families living amongst us, creating a better San Jose through cultural traditions. And so in this event, we center Cultura Cura, con amor y orgullo, born from the Chicano movement, grounded in this indigenous lineage as a pathway to healing, regeneration, and transformative justice. And so with more conviction, we're determined to educate in our homes, in our escuelas, our communities, to decolonize and deconstruct, making social justice work through relationship building, and staying true to a way of life that involves to all my relations. And so as we celebrate Flor del Pueblo, we see how they have honored the seventh generation in the creativity and love for our people, for their vision of a better world, a better future, that we are now benefiting 50 years later, no? Because it is the flowers of the people, the elders, the ancestors that paved the way to our current youth and our children and our students and leaders who continue to call the justice, abolish ICE, abolish the police until the children are free, to be in solidarity, to stop Asian hate. Black lives matters, and we call que las vidas son sagradas. And in that we say to decommodify housing and to give land back and to have land without landlords as we try to make a healthy well-being of our comunidad. Aho, ometeo.
Mateo. Gracias, Adriana, for that acknowledgement. Saludos, everyone. My name is Carlos Velázquez. I'm a proud volunteer of this event. I appreciate the San Jose State Chicano Studies Department for inviting me to be part of this, and to Flor del Pueblo and to all of you for being here today. I will just kind of give a brief flow of what today is going to be. Hopefully it will be a mixture of plática, conversación, along with some beautiful images, as you guys have already been seeing, y música también. So just as a quick introduction, I am going to be introducing Dr. Esteban Ascona. He is going to be going into a plática with the members of Flor del Pueblo. There will be 3 themes that the plática will kind of center around. Theme 1 is family, San Jose, and farm workers. Theme 2, youth, arts, and el movimiento. Theme 3, Flor del Pueblo's formation and the expansion of the Latin American sound and internationalism. So there will be, as I mentioned, some music and images interspersed throughout the plática, and there will be a portion at the end of the plática for folks to, share some words and also to ask any questions. So if you do have any questions, you can put them in the chat during the conversation. We'll be sure to monitor them and ask them at the end. And as I mentioned, at the end of the plática, there will be opportunity for people to share. So thank you so much. I do want to introduce our facilitator for today's plática, Dr. Esteban Ascona. Esteban is an assistant professor in the Department of Chicana and Chicano Studies at San Jose State University. Before coming to San Jose State, he served in the Latinx arts nonprofit Art World as an arts administrator and performing arts curator. An ethnomusicologist by training, his work has documented Chicano Movement music making at the local and national level. With Dr. Russell Rodriguez, he is also co-producer of the Smithsonian Folkways recording release, Rolas de Aztlán, Songs of the Chicano Movement. So welcome, Esteban.
Thank you, Carlos. Welcome, everybody. Bienvenidos. So happy to have you all here celebrating an important part of the story, the history of ethnic Mexican San Jose and the South Bay area. I am not from there, and I'm actually not there now. So I am calling out to you from Tohono O'odham and Yaqui lands of Southern Arizona. And so, but from here, I am with you all in spirit as we celebrate. I want to start by introducing introducing the members of the group. So, I'll be reading their bios right now. So I'd like to begin with Deborah Rodriguez. Deborah was born in San Jose and raised in the pews of Salsipuedes Church, El Templo Bautista Mexicana, Primera Iglesia Bautista Hispano-Americana. She is a co-founder of Flor del Pueblo, and she researched and selected music for the repertoire, created set lists, arranged harmonies, created Flor Cancionero, not to mention singing and playing guitar, clave, and piano with the group. She has had numerous musical influences, starting with her parents, Frank and Elizabeth Robledo Rodriguez, among other family members. And she has numerous musical influences, too many to name, but I'll include Mercedes Sosa, Soledad Bravo, Sonny Paz, Daniel Valdez, but also, of course, the Beatles and Joni Mitchell, and Peter, Paul, and Mary. Her experiences include extensive community activism in San Jose and beyond, including but not limited to Chicano Student Union, high school student walkouts, a wide range of UFW boycott fundraisers, rallies, and picket lines, and also the Salinas Lettuce Strike Huelga buttons and turning at the Malcriado at the 40 acres. Through different Teatros Chicanos and Flor del Pueblo, she has been on stage at numerous historic events, including the 1970 Chicano Moratorium in Los Angeles and the Tenaz festivals in Texas and Mexico City. We're so happy that Deborah is with us.
Thank you.
And we see Deborah with her husband, percussionist Richard Garcia, himself born in Torrance, California, raised in East San Jose. He's a retired California Deputy Land Commissioner and an Ohio civil rights investigator. His music had started in junior high at Roosevelt Junior High School, but he also studied and performed in San Jose State's Latin Jazz Ensemble, gospel choir, among other things. He was a timbal soloist with the San Jose Symphony in 1999, the Monterey Jazz Festival. He has performed with numerous artists on stage and in recording. Among them, Rudy Madrid for a number of years, but also with the Bernie Fuentes Big Band. He recorded with Flor del Pueblo, Wayne Wallace, and Michael Spiro. But he considers among his most significant performances performing with Danny Valdez and others at Cesar Chavez's funeral. I want to introduce everyone to Yolanda Perez. Yolanda was influenced since her early childhood by her father, Ramiro, whose guitar and vocal skills were showcased at family gatherings. He taught her how to play, and in school, she learned how to play clarinet and read music. And her social justice awareness was broadened by his community organizing, and at 13, she marched in Sacramento, to Sacramento in support of the UFW. Mm-hmm. In the 9th grade, she helped lead the student walkout at Roosevelt Junior High School in San Jose, protesting the degradation of Chicano students. And she participated in the planning of that with community organizers. As the UFW and the movement grew throughout community, she gravitated towards creative expressions through teatro and música. And at 17, she joined Teatro Urbano there in San Jose as an actor and musician. While in college, she joined Teatro Campesino, also as an actor and musician. And she co-founded and performed with Castillo Alvarez Productions, a teatro group, and later with the family music group Alma del Sol. And in that participation led to joining Flor del Pueblo. Years later, her professional career led to television broadcasting as producer and on-air personality for the local ABC affiliate in San Jose. She then transitioned her creative talents to marketing and public relations throughout the years, on occasion playing with local music groups. And her biggest pride are her children, Alma y Sol. Next, would like to introduce you all to Francisco Pancho Rodriguez, the eldest of the Rodriguez Robledo siblings that make up Flor del Pueblo. He has vast experience in different aspects of the Chicano movement, both cultural and political. He worked extensively with the UFW, including as their representative in Boston, Massachusetts during the Great Boycott. He was also a member of Teatro Campesino. He was particularly interested in the potential of cultural exchanges during the movement and participated in different Chicano delegations, including the Venceremos Brigade to Cuba. Among his local experiences are working with the Raza Unida Party, Comexas, as well as playing a role in the 1982 US Festival. He's also a co-founder of the plein air and studio group of painters, Los Californios. Next member I want to introduce is Eduardo Robledo, a musician, actor, educator, and composer. He started his career in 1969 in Teatro Campesino and continues his relationship with the company to today. He joined the San Francisco Mime Group in 1975 and was a member of the collective until 1987. The same year, he had the honor of accepting a Tony Award for Outstanding Regional Theater. He's a founding member of Flor and has composed and recorded on various albums, including receiving 3 Bay Area Critics Awards for composing for music theater, and the California Arts Council grant for composing. And he composed the music, is currently working on a soundtrack album for Quijote Nuevo, play by Octavio Solis. Next member I'd like to introduce us to is Enrique Castillo, who has worked with some of Hollywood's top directors, including Tony Scott, Taylor Hackford, Wim Wenders, Gregory Nava, Oliver Stone, among others, and his guest starring roles on television. Best known for his role as Montana in Blood In, Blood Out, and the lethal enforcer on Showtime's Weeds. His career began working in the well-renowned company El Teatro Campesino. Moving to Los Angeles, he landed one of the leading roles, one of the leads in the critically acclaimed play Zoot Suit at the Mark Taper Forum, and went on to become a founding member of the Latino Theater Company in Los Angeles. He's produced and directed award-winning plays, among them The Last Angry Hat and the Imagen award-winning production Veteranos, A Legacy of Valor. He has several screenplays currently written under various stages of production, and in 2016 he published his first award-winning novel, The Dead of Summer. Enrique performed with Teatro Campesino in the 1970s, and he is currently co-directing and producing a documentary on the origins of youth mariachi movement, which started in Tucson. Which leads us to our 7th member with us today, Ben Cadena. Ben is a bassist who started on clarinet, also played bass viola as a youth, and 1960 played with the Andy Flores Orquesta until 1967. He's been playing in community theater and bands with Flor del Pueblo as early as 1968 and until the present day. Cadena has performed with Teatro Campesino since the early 70s and for various fundraisers and productions. He played with Rudy Madrid Combo until about 1990, and he will still rehearse and play with Mr. O's big band in Hollister when our COVID-19 restrictions lift. So I want to make sure I haven't missed anybody. So welcome, members of Flor. It is wonderful to have you here and to have you share your story with us here online. So let me
Esteban, can I interrupt you for just a moment?
Yes, please.
Okay, I just wanted to mention some people that are online that were in the group also at various times. Javier Pacheco played piano with us often. Manuel Martinez and Connie Martinez were in the group at the very beginning. They're watching this show and they were really important. And Steve Cervantes. And Steve's in the audience, and he's really important to this group. And Helen Nájera Reyes. who has been affiliated with us in different capacities over the years. So I just wanted to mention those people that are not in this little loop, but they're online watching. So thank you.
So also George Loreto and Abelio, who joined us when we had the opportunity to play with the Papines. Can you hear me? I don't know if this is going to. And yeah, Esteban is currently living in Isla de las Mujeres, but played a real strong role with us. And I want to make sure that we're able to, Cervantes, as he says, recognize him.
Thank you for mentioning that. We want to extend a warm abrazo to this larger family of Flor del Pueblo that exists. I think that's just another testament of the impact of and the history of this group. So let's start at the beginning. So Pancho, if I may ask you the first question. The story of Flor is one that reflects a family from 1950s, 60s, San Jose. First, there's a connection point to agricultural labor in the Central Valley, but also in the Bay Area. So could you share with us the connections you see between your family and the farm worker movement growing up in San Jose?
Well, first of all, our father was a friend of Cesar Chavez when they were young men. From that friendship, it evolved to his participation along with the rest of my family in the farm workers movement. But we go back as musicians into the early 50s when my father and mother had a religious trio, and they would rehearse and we'd all sit in the pews doing homework. And my sister and brother had perfect pitch. So if anybody had a problem with the note, they'd let them know. And even as far back as that religious experience, that church was very much involved in community outreach. And so having the opportunity through our brother to begin to participate with Teatro Campesino at a very young age, he was still in high school. And Luis Valdez had to go over and ask my father, if he could take my brother out on a tour. And so he let him, but he said, "You better watch my son. This is the young one." So, and that was pretty early. So from that experience, he also was able to bring cousin Ed into the loop. And for many years, Ed's participated with Teatro Campesino. So in the early days of the development of the group, Ed, Felipe, Ben, and Deborah were rehearsing at our parents' house. And the idea then spread to, well, let's see what we can do with this, because most music groups at that time were playing música romántica. There weren't a lot of political groups. And having had the experience of being in Cuba and being in another country like Berkeley, we're able to have experiences that brought other influences in play. So a broad influence by Latin American struggles, and the music that they were portraying were really important to us, because even though most people were members of Teatro Campesino, one of the things that we realized is music was used more of a emotional uplift thing, a grito, a song to get emotions going. But we felt and believed that music had its own grounds, its own ability to convey a message, just as well, if not better, than theater, even though everybody looking there has been involved in theater. So we were looking at it as a different way to promote the same issues, to open up some consciousness, to broaden people's views about what music roles played in their valley and in their minds.
Yeah.
Ed.
Well, I know that your parents are involved with UFW local organizing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering just in what ways of being in that sort of nexus of that proximity to Cesar Chavez, CSO, and all that organizing that was happening, as that sort of political formation of you all, as because in this time in the 1960s, you know, you were all high schoolers, so or younger.
Yeah, well, you know, the thing is, we grew up in a church initially that was at the very end of Sal Si Puedes. That street, Sal Si Puedes, where Cesar's parents lived. No sidewalks. It was an adobe church. The church was overseen by a missionary because Mexicans weren't allowed to have their own ministers. They had to have a white missionary sitting on the stage with the preacher that we had. So we were looked at as an internal mission. You know, they sent a guy, minister, to go preach to these Indians who were our family, who had their own preacher. So learning from that experience in terms of extreme poverty that we saw there, and the community organizations like CSO that were developing, and the kind of work that was happening in the East Side in some of the churches were real influential to us. And so we grew up with that kind of consciousness. Our church was basically made up of our own family, but it was based on helping each other out. They do weekly visits to people who were sick, sing for people who weren't feeling well. We had presentations throughout the state of California monthly. What were they called? Associations. And our family was participating in a lot of the musical programs there. So the evolution took place kind of naturally. Our parents had been farm workers. Our father had, you know, like I said, I mentioned, he'd been working and understood that work because he was with Cesar Chavez when they were young folks. And when they came to California, and then this part of California, they were working in Campbell as pickers by farms that were owned by Japanese Americans. So they got an exposure there at an early age that they brought us into. Ed.
Well, thank you, Pancho. Along similar lines, I'd like to ask Yolanda, like your father had a relationship with the Valdez family, and through which you found yourself with your own connections to the UFW. So if you could tell us a little bit more about the community organizing, sort of your own sort of political formation and seeing his community organizing growing up.
My father, Ramiro Perez, who was also part of Flor del Pueblo, passed away, of course. And then my uncle, Clay Shanrock, who was also part of the group, not with us. And then, of course, Felipe Rodriguez is not here, but I wanted to acknowledge both of them and Felipe that they are not with us. But my father, Ramiro, was a big influence for me because he is the one who brought social awareness and social injustices to the forefront and my education. He was involved with community activism and organizing. He was considered one of the best community organizers, according to a labor leader by the name of Fred Hirsch, who, when my dad passed away, he made it a point to tell me, you know, your father was the best community organizer that he'd ever known. And that really brought a lot of pride to me. He was involved, and I guess you can say he was an influencer, but he also worked with the CSO. He worked with ESO, Economic and Social Opportunity Group. He was involved with police patrol because a lot of Chicanos were being stopped and harassed and arrested and shot at this, you know, we talk about today's environment of Black Lives Matter. Well, that happened here in San Jose quite a bit. And my dad was involved with police patrol during that time as well. La Raza Unida, he was involved with a lot of community groups. And part of that social injustice and social education for me, of course, was the exposure to the UFW. And my dad and Luis Valdez went to college together. And they became compadres in later years. He baptized one of Luis's sons. And I was very young, and Luis Valdez and Teatro Campesino were part of the UFW. And I asked if I could go on the UFW March to Sacramento. And similar to what Pancho said about Felipe and the Teatro Campesino, well, my dad told Luis, hey, I'm going to let her go, but you got to watch her. You know, you got to make sure and take care of her and babysit her, make sure nothing happens. So, you know, that was part of my initiation.
Go back to One Piece.
So Luis was a babysitter for a couple of us there for a while. But yeah, so Luis and my dad were compadres, and very much the teatro when I was growing up influenced my interest in creative theater and alternative theater. And Chicano theater was one of the ones, of course, being exposed to Teatro Campesino and having been part of Teatro Urbano. And I was very fortunate to have a dad who felt that it was okay for women to be expressive and to have a creative side. And he was very encouraging in that for me and to be involved in the community. So I miss him terribly, but I'm very thankful that he had that influence on me. And then Luis Valdez, of course, was a big influence.
Thank you. Thank you, Yolanda, for sharing part of the story of your father. I'd like to ask our team if we can, if we can share a photo. We can share, there we go.
Whoa, that's me when I was like 16 or 17 in the Teatro Urbano with Daniel Valdez standing behind me. Eduardo is to my left, Ben Cadena is to my right, and of course, Felipe is upper right, left, if you're looking at the photo head on. So that was Teatro Urbano days, youngins. We were young.
Yeah.
Yoli was in high school.
Yep.
So was Yoli.
Yeah.
Yoli in the middle right there. Hey, Eduardo, were you in college already by that time?
Oh yeah, I was old. You can tell I was really old.
Yeah, Ben Cadena looks like Mr. Studious there.
And Deb was in the group then, but she couldn't leave high school. I think this is when you left, when you missed your graduation, your high school graduation, Yolanda.
Yeah, I actually, this is an interesting story. Teatro Urbano was going to go on tour in the summer, and I was supposed to walk across the stage to receive my high school graduation certificate diploma. And instead, I missed it and flew to Michigan to meet up with the Teatro Urbano. And that was an interesting time that I'll never forget, that I never got my high school diploma except for afterwards.
Yeah, I like to sort of, you know, stay here for a little bit and ask you all. Let me, I don't know if Ben is with us here at the moment, but
I'm
yeah.
here.
Hey, Ben.
Yeah, and so, yeah, Ben, Richard, if you could sort of, at this age, whether you're in Urbano or one of the other groups, or you're playing music, like what was it like at this age to be engaging with these, with the movement, with these new ideas, with this public sense of being Chicana, being Chicano? So what was art sort of playing, what role was it playing in your lives in this moment? Yeah.
I just want to say, I remember my one tia asking what we were doing hanging out with comunistas. And I told her this is a cultural thing. We were, this is Chicano Movement. We're trying to walking out of schools, trying to complain about being modeled after Anglos, Gringos, whatever. Of course, I was more like, they called me church mouse because I was always playing with the Catholic Church.
Seminarian.
Yeah. And then later on Unitarians, yeah, of course. So basically, we're trying to convince people to get civically involved, try to vote out the conservatives and try to create more union. My dad was in the painters union. He was one of the first Chicanos in the painters union. And I remember him saying that some of the lighter members of the union didn't want to work with the Negros, and he did. And then they used to call us a tribe because there was 8 of us in our family. So he had a lot of kids to raise. And so I've got a brother that's a school teacher and a sister that's a retired school teacher. And I'm just a músico. That's enough.
A corrupt one at that.
That's it. Well,
Can
that's
I
because
start- can I start-
I started with mariachi. Wait a minute.
Well, teatro is clearly a theme. The photo we shared was of Teatro Urbano, one of the local teatros chicanos. There were others. Of course, we hear so much about Teatro Campesino, and all of you had a role with the ensemble. And something that comes out of this moment is the Teatro Nacional de Aztlán, or the Tenaz theater festivals.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if you can all share the story of the first Tenaz that I recall you all participating in. This is in San Antonio, the Tenaz Festival in San Antonio.
Well, we went to the earlier festivals. My first one was in '69 in Fresno, and it was a connection between. Well, at that time, there was a lot of money, and a lot of Chicanos started going to college. There were economic programs enabling students that ordinarily weren't able to go to college. And so there became a movement, there became a political movement. Chicanos, African Americans were involved in colleges and universities. And those people got together, and in San Diego, Teatro Mestizo, in Santa Barbara, Teatro de la Esperanza, there were companies coming up in the San Joaquin Valley. Kiki was in Berkeley with Hijos del Sol, but there were groups in Texas, and they started to form a network where we were able to tour. So they would sponsor us at their university, and it became a communication network. Teatro Mestizo sponsored Flor del Pueblo, and we did a show in San Diego with Los Lobos. It was the beginning of the connections with Los Lobos. There was a very big Chicano network that was developed out of Tenaz, or Teatro Nacional de Aztlán. Also a major connection with Mexico, and the major group there was the Mascarones, a group in Mexico City, later in Cuernavaca. But they started coming to the United States and influencing, really got us to speak a lot of Spanish, because they only spoke Spanish. So todos los pochos tenían que aprender a hablar español, porque cada mañana teníamos pláticas. So we early in the morning after the late evening festivals, and we would do criticisms and analysis of the different plays. But the mascarones being there meant that you had to understand Spanish and you had to speak Spanish. So I think it really developed Spanish in a lot of the Chicanos and Chicano theaters. Obviously, many
Yeah, you have to set it up.
spoke Spanish, but not all.
You set your parameters up. I don't know how to do that.
And the role of music, many of you were not just actors, you were musicians in these teatros.
Well, the teatro, the original acto shows, the short skits, Teatro Campesino show would be composed of maybe 3 short skits. The show would open with a song, 2 songs. Luis would speak a skit or an acto, then we'd fill in the songs, and then another acto, and then more songs. That's
The
where
Chicano
actually,
commercial.
that's where I started playing with Kiki, and we put together a group in the Teatro Campesino, a musical group that did a little bit more than that. We wanted to take music a little bit farther. So that was the first step, I think, to this idea that music could be a little bit more.
You know, in the early days of the Farm Workers Union, there were meetings every Friday. We'd have dinner in the Filipino Hall, and then there would be music from Teatro Campesino, sometimes an acto, and then afterwards, Caesar would get up and he'd speak. That's when those of us who were members of the union would get paid. We get $5 a week, big checks.
Right.
and
Yep.
and then the meeting would be ended with, again, Teatro Campesino's presentation of music and the clap that would start and getting everybody excited for the next week, getting out there and either picketing, leafleting, or boycotting. And then the next round would come. But again, that's part of, I think, the emotional aspect that music would play, because people were going through a lot at that time, and they feel uplifted by the end of one of those meetings. It's one of the few meetings that I know of anybody feeling uplifted after a meeting.
Hey, we used to get paid $60 a month with the Teatro Campesino. That was big dollars.
Yeah.
$60 a month. Wow, right on. Woo!
It's fun. Richard.
I remember, I just want to, microwaves were new, and I tried to cook an egg in a microwave at the NBC studios. The egg blew up and I got the hell out of Dodge. I didn't know that was going to do that at the time, because that was newfangled stuff. That was high tech. And I've been a technician for 30, 40 years. So, but I didn't know a microwave would do that to an egg.
How about the papas, Ben?
I can't remember.
I can, but we should skip and go on to the music.
Richard, you had some.
Yeah. My orientation towards farm working or farm workers came through my paternal grandfather and his family, which is my dad and his 10 kids. They were migrants during the 20s and 30s. And during that time, he was a Methodist evangelist. He preached the gospel in the fields in Watts in 1910, after I met his cousin. Anyway, as far as the movement, after I got home from Vietnam after 2 years, in 1970, I came back home and I ran into Ben, and he had all these friends, Pancho, Ed, Felipe, and we hung out, and I started playing music with local bands and hanging out with Ben and these, Ed and Pancho and Felipe. And I bought my first conga around that time, during that summer, and just practiced on my own. I think we jammed a little bit. And then I can't give an exact date, but I was recruited by Felipe to join his band around 72, which is Flor del Pueblo, as a percussionist on bongo, as an accompanist, which is my musical accompanist is my training and experience from 11 years old till the present. I'm gonna end with a short story. It's kind of funny. During that time in Roosevelt, me and Ben were friends since 57. 59, we're in the 7th grade. He played bass and sousaphone, I played the snare, and we would practice, take our stuff home and practice. So one hot day, we're walking to catch the bus on 22nd and Santa Clara. I have my drum, Ben has this big old sousaphone. Bus pulls over, driver opens the door, I walk in, put my coin in there, and then Ben squeezes in with this sousaphone, puts his money in there, and the driver looks at him and says, "It's a good thing you don't play piano." Ben has been part of my family since then. I mean, I would come over and there he was eating and talking with my mom and dad. Just, you know, he is really my brother. And I started playing with Phil and Pancho and Ed, and kept on studying that particular kind of music because I was self-taught, listening to records and playing, and finally got mentored by some people that knew what they were doing, like Yoli's uncle, Clay. He showed me a little bit.
Yeah,
I played with him for a while, and I continued on playing. We played in big bands together, him and I, in the area, and he was a lot of fun to be with. Had a lot of good stories. So in 1970, one of the first things I did as with the union was to pick Lucky's on King and Story with my uncle. And soon thereafter, there was the LA moratorium. I had been home exactly a month from from 2 years in the war. And my friends say, "Hey, go get us some things at the liquor store at the corner." Okay, I get to the liquor store, I'm standing in line, and all of a sudden these dudes are like stealing stuff and throwing stuff through the window. I go, "Oh no, it's time to leave," So I make it back to the park, and there's a skirmish line of LA sheriff's deputies just swarming on the people, and the people were fighting back. I mean, they were hitting with bottles and sticks, anything. They fought hard. And of course they were overcome by the police. And what really freaked me out was the CS gas, or the tear gas. I just had a terrific flashback to the military. So I got back to my car right away, and I split to my aunt's house in Wilmington. That was my first exposure to La Raza activity in the public scene, and came back and of course got involved with the group, playing around the Bay Area, playing at La Peña, opening up for Tony Bennett, who else? Leader of AIM.
Dennis Banks, yeah. We did it.
Thanks, Katie.
And Marlon Brando was there too. So I go, wow, these guys are really happening. So one time I was in City College in class, and the teacher's showing Yo Soy Joaquin, and the music starts, and I see the credits, Felipe Rodriguez on guitar. I go, dang, he's pretty good. So Felipe became sort of a mentor or a confidant. I mean, he helped me when I really needed help.
Well, speaking of Felipe, why don't we hear a song? And I believe this song features his voice.
Okay.
And here we go.
Siempre dice mucha gente que este mundo no va a cambiar. La justicia nos va al pobre y jamás tendremos libertad. Yo les digo, compañeros, solo hay que trabajar.
Todos juntos en la lucha, este mundo vamos a cambiar. Todos juntos en la lucha, este mundo vamos a cambiar.
Trabajadores campesinos tienen 10 años de pelear, defendiendo sus derechos, trabajando sin cesar. Nos dicen los campesinos, esta huelga vamos a ganar. Y unidos en la causa este mundo vamos a cambiar. Y unidos en la causa este mundo vamos a cambiar. Yo les digo, mis amigos, doy estos consejos. Poco a poco se va muy lejos.
Cool.
Ed wrote that
Yay,
song.
Felipe, yay.
Yeah.
So
That's Yoli, Kiki, and I on the chorus, right?
Yes. I think so, yeah. Hey, I just saw a little chat thing that Olga Talamante was listening. Remember when we played for Olga Talamante when she was freed from Argentina?
Yep.
That was an
remember.
event. That was an event. I
Yeah.
think you showed a picture of that. That was a glorious event that for us to play there and welcome her home.
Yes.
And we did a lot of fundraisers around the Bay Area for
Right.
the organizing committee.
Can you show that picture again of Olga Talamantes?
oh, I don't know if we can see if we can find that. But I'd like to ask Deb to share with us about the formation of the group, how Flor came together, and the particular role Felipe played.
Actually, it's kind of hard for me to remember. It's been so many years.
No estás tan viejita.
Details about how it formed. But since we had a lot of the teatro experience, I was actually in Teatro Campesino also in high school, performing in Delano, in Fresno. My parents let us go. However, I wasn't on that tour where you guys are like school in Illinois or Chicago, wherever you guys were. My mom didn't let me go. So after we were involved with Teatro Urbano, with Daniel, and we were also involved with Teatro de la Gente. There were a lot of music, being performed with the plays as a segue to, the actos that were being performed. And we had a lot of different musical influences in high school. I remember Buffy St. Marie and many other women that really, it did influence me. And later Celia Cruz, Yolanda and I really loved her.
Mhm.
And, but the essence of the group started with Felipe and myself and Eduardo singing in my parents' living room, and Ben would join us and eat everything in our house and hang out. And, no beer allowed in that house. Well, my parents were around anyway. So, but we started singing these songs that we had heard in the teatro groups, and we thought, we can have our own music group. We don't have to be just a teatro group. And so we started and started performing at San Jose State, different rallies, or with farm worker rallies. And I remember one particular incident, my mother made me sing at a rally in Salinas on the back of a flatbed truck, some song we made up the night before. So that wasn't very comfortable, but later with the formation of the group, Felipe would work on lyrics and on harmonies, teaching Eduardo and I the different rhythms on guitars, the jarocho style music, the ritmos. And then it just kind of took off from there. And we invited ourselves one year to the NAS Festival in San Antonio, thinking that, we're musicians, we can sing, we can present ourselves, even though we're not a part of a teatro group. And we were very well accepted. And Eduardo has some really good memories about that.
Oh, yeah, we were.
Tell them about donuts.
Oh, no, I can't tell that one. So, okay, we go to this festival that we're not really invited to because we're not a teatro. And they have, every group performs for Tenaz, for the theater companies themselves at the home base. And then every group that performs at the home base needs to come and do evening show in the community. So the same groups that are playing, in order to play for the teatros, you have to play in the community. So every night they had something set up in the community, and every night they sent us out to the community so we could open up the shows with music. So everybody performed twice except for our group, who performed every night. So I think we were also really influential in that we were the first group to do this. And then at that festival, Enrique Ramirez and Chunky were there with Teatro Mestizo, and they said, well, those guys can do it. We can definitely do this. And so they went and formed the Alacranes in San Diego and became a musical group there. Enrique went to San Francisco, and he says, well, if Chunky can do it, I can do it in San Francisco. So they formed, who they formed? Well, anyway.
Peludos.
Oh yeah, the Peludos. And musical groups started sprouting up. And so we had, it was another phenomenon, I think related, tied very closely to Tenaz and the theater organizations. And we basically went on the same kind of tours and played the same kind of venues at the theaters, but we were much more flexible in that we could taper our shows. We could do smaller presentations or full-length presentations, depending on the needs. I'm missing Kiki. I want to hear what Kiki has to say.
Actually, I was about to ask that. And so,
yay!
we haven't heard from Kiki, and so I'd like to ask the tech team if they could bring up the Semana Chicana photo. But while they're doing that, I want to ask Chica if he could share with us his experiences at this time, particularly the formation of the group Alma del Sol, and how what Alma del Sol was engaging with in this moment, and what led to the joining together with Flor del Pueblo.
Is my audio on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like Flor, it was a family group. Myself, Yolanda, Ramiro, Clay, and Lucero was part of that. Basically just family playing together and eventually saying, hey, let's do a show somewhere. I don't know how the first actual performance happened, but before I knew it, we were already a group. Decided to call ourselves Alma del Sol. Ramiro was a great influence musically. He's an excellent guitarist. And of course, Clay was an exceptional percussionist, conguero. Yeah. Great influence. Ramiro was very instrumental in my learning more guitar, rhythms, and even some requinto. I had actually started playing guitar in San Juan during the first Tenaz workshop. There was a gentleman by the name of Eberto Ruiz. When we did the corridos, the first corridos, he was the only musician. It was just him and the guitar. And I would go over there and sit next to him when I wasn't performing, and I'd watch him play and listen to him sing. And then I started joining in the vocals with him because I grew up with music also. My father was a musician, a guitarist, and we used to sing like a lot of other people at church, part of a choir and stuff. And so it was very familiar to me. So I had always wanted to learn how to play guitar, and watching him, I thought, well, I can do that. And so he's the first one that started really teaching me. And then when I met Ramiro, that grew even more, the love for the guitar and the music. And then of course, with Clay's influence into what was new at the time, what became salsa. But with those two influences were terrific in the growth of my love for music as far as playing it and performing. And then I remember, I don't know if it was during a gig that we were doing or we were just hanging around somewhere. Somebody said, you know, you guys, have you guys heard Flor del Pueblo? And I hadn't. And he said, you know, you guys should get together because it looks like you guys complement each other a lot. And then I guess somehow we must have met at a rehearsal or informally, but before I knew it, we were rehearsing together and then started performing together. So it was even a higher level of experience musically because it was nothing that I'd ever been a part of, certainly with Ed and with the teatro playing the music that we did when we went on tour. But this was an actual group that we rehearsed diligently and created the harmonies and eventually writing songs, composing music, which grew to, you know, what is known now as Flor del Pueblo as it is.
Thank you. So we see this photo. I don't know if this photo begins to bring back any memories. I'm sure it does. This is a photo of Semana Chicana, some of the movement era events that are taking place on campus at San Jose State. But I want to ask a question to both Yolanda and Deborah, and that is, you know, when we think of movement arts, you know, these narratives and stories are changing now as we explore these histories more fully. But, you know, in music groups in particular tended to be largely all male. And so here we have a group, Flor del Pueblo, that features two women in prominent manners. So I was wondering if you could look back on your experiences within the movement. Who are your peers as women musicians? Who are you sort of looking up to as singers, songwriters, instrumentalists, and you know, what was that platform for you all of Flor del Pueblo and expressing your participation in the movement through the group?
You better ask one or the other.
Let's start with Yolanda.
Okay. Well, of course, the big influence in my life was my dad, but and growing up, it was my uncles and the influence of the men and the harmonies and all of that. But in the movimiento days, you know, Mercedes Sosa was just phenomenal. I just loved her música with one of her most popular songs, Gracias a la Vida. And of course, folk hero Joan Baez very much influenced me in that movimiento time as well. Was it Sonia Paz? What was her name, Deborah?
Suni
Paz.
Suni Paz, yeah, también, yeah. And then of course, if you go to the commercial side of música and the salsa, like Enrique mentioned, you know, Celia Cruz. I mean, man, it just was awesome. Azúcar. as she used to say, excuse me, but my English is not very good looking.
Right.
But, so a lot of the, even the commercial side of música in the industry, but also the movimiento women influenced me a lot.
Mhm.
Deborah.
Yeah, like I had mentioned earlier, in high school, I would listen to Buffy St. Marie quite a bit, really get into listening to her, as well as later Mercedes Sosa. I was in high school when I first heard her music. Very haunting, very beautiful, very profound. Soledad Bravo wrote Punto y Raya. And for many years, I didn't realize that she was the one that authored that song that's very powerful, even to this day. Joan Baez, of course, we loved her, and Suni Bass. So those are the main influences for me as well. So as far as like Chicana music, Chicanas in music at that time, I don't remember if there were, any at that time that we could, get a hold of.
You two were about the only ones. Could I point out something? I wanted to bring up that international thing that they were, because they're talking about Suni Paz, Soledad Bravo. And that was one of the things that for us, we felt that was pretty unique. We brought in music from Cuba initially. Carlos Puebla played a big role in our understanding of Cuban music. Clay was a big influence for all of us. But we became like the house band of the Peña in Berkeley. In the early days of the development of that cultural center, which again brought out more an international perspective, because one of the things that we would find as Chicanos is that most of the music and most of the groups were very regionalistic, in the sense that Chicanos just tended to listen to Mexican music. They weren't listening to salsa or any of these other forms of music. And what we're able to bring back from Cuba, records, tapes, and then what we began listening to other groups, Inti Limani. We had an opportunity to perform with Inti Limani. We were able to perform with Los Papines, which were a big percussive cultural group from Cuba on their first tour. We actually were able to perform with those guys. So that is something we just wanted to bring more to the forefront of our people, because we felt that we were too narrow. We needed to understand our connection culturally and historically, and add that to our voice in terms of how we needed to see our journey and where we were going. So,
I think that the music reflected on the album, like Pancho says, I mean, it was across the board of Latino America, which was a global movimiento, so to speak. But también, speaking of La Mujer, I mean, we made it a point to make sure that we had songs that reflected the women's struggle as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think this is an opportunity to shift into this. And so I want to ask if our tech team can find the image to the album cover, so everyone can see this a little more clearly. So 1977, right? The group records independently Música de Nuestra América. And so Pancho, and anyone really, but Pancho has started us off on this conversation about why the international artists were important. So it'd be great to hear from the songwriters, Enrique and Eduardo, about their own songwriting and the mix with those songs of your own original songs with the selections that you made from South America and Cuba, like in putting together what songs on the album.
This album was 76, right? Or 75?
No, it says 77 on the album.
Yeah, but we started recording before that.
I think 76 rather.
76.
It was in the 70s.
That wasn't 1876, right?
Well, I remember telling the group that I had a song that was very short. It wasn't like a whole, it wasn't like a whole song. And then Kiki says, well, I got a song that's short too. And they complimented each other. It was, por casualidad or serendipity. but Tierra y Semilla is a song written by, it is two songlets that were put together and have lived together for decades now.
In the discussion of the structure of the album, what I remember was we wanted to start and portray the migration from the indigenous up to the north and cross the border. So that the end of the side one of the album, we were going to incorporate piano and electric. So it would be crossing the border and becoming American.
Yeah.
And then the flip side was going to open it up internationally, which is what I think Samba de Che was important because it incorporated different countries, which was a Chileno, I don't know who composed it, I don't remember that song in particular.
Boliviano.
Yeah, where it combined a lot of different individuals from different countries. And then, of course, yes, the discussion about incorporating the struggle of the mujer was very important. And the farm worker.
Here's the track example of these songs from that.
Who did the little requito there?
Your dad.
Two guitars.
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
La música trae los americanos.
I was actually with Suni Paz not too long ago, and she's also an author. And we were at the same book festival. We had a great conversation. We took pictures and reminisced about that period also.
That's beautiful.
By the way, I was also a couple of days ago, I was with Luis Perez of Los Lobos. We were talking about those days too.
What did they used to call us? Flor del Pueblo.
Flor del Huevo.
Flojos del Pueblo.
Logos, yeah.
Flojos del Pueblo.
Eso.
So for those of you who actually you can find there, so you could find, for those of you who love the music from this era, you should be able to find Los Lobos' very first album, the quote unquote yellow album. And there's a track on there called Flor del Pueblo, and that is their homage. I don't know what you would call it too, but
we knew
I don't know if
we knew them.
Right.
We knew the Lobos before they were called. They were called just another band from East LA. That's how long ago we knew them.
Yeah,
definitely.
At one point, we traded albums. In other words,
and Poco a Poco was written to
to them,
acknowledging their form. They did all the música veracruzana, huasteca, and I wrote Flor del Pueblo.
Poco a Poco.
Oh yeah, that's what I wrote, huh? So with their music in mind.
Well, that's new to me.
Yeah, that's when they ended up writing one to us.
Well, you remember I used to play the little solo on mandolin, and Los Lobos didn't have authentic instruments in those days. They played mandolins. So since they played mandolins, I wrote a song where I played mandolin.
Right on.
Yeah.
So at one point we were trading albums. So we gave them 20 of their albums. They gave us 20 of theirs. And so it shows when we put up our album, we'd also sell Lobos albums. And they'd sell our albums.
Well, we remember discussing with Ed and everybody that we felt it was important for us to write something of our own, so that we weren't just doing somebody else's work, but that we would do our own original stuff. And we wanted stuff to be an homage to, say, the farm workers, which is where the song that I wrote came in, and then Ed's song, and then Tierra y Semilla. So we felt that it was important to create original stuff.
Absolutely.
Right.
And Journey to the Sun was an original too.
Important, little off topic, but I think one of the important things, and it has to do with probably all of it, is the farm workers relied on the idea of volunteerism. It was volunteers that went out to picket lines in all the cities. It was volunteers that made the grape strike run. And really it was volunteers for the most part that formed the teatros and tenaz. And the ease that Alma del Sol and Flor del Pueblo meshed had to do with, we were both volunteer groups. We were groups that were dedicating many hours to the creation of music for a movement, of music to support and to live in a political reality. And we would perform and we would make money, but we would, the original group made money to make a 45 disc, which you showed a little earlier. And then we sold the disc, and then the cancionero that was developed of the group's cancionero, we would sell those things at shows. We would make money at shows, but we would never take salaries. We would, we would rarely take even food money, but we saved money to make the album. The group was a labor of love. The group was a labor of love for the ensemble, for the album, and for the movement. And I think that's very important to the reality of,
yeah, we all held
and the reality of the ensemble.
Yeah, we had full-time jobs while we did this.
Well,
and we
some
had
did.
families, and we had families too. Some of you did, yeah. And we had families, we had a child, and we would bring him to the shows, and he learned all of our songs, and he'd be there for rehearsals, and that was an extension of the next generation of Flor del Pueblo and the teatristas that we were. Our next generation were our children, and they participated in their own next genre of teatro or theater. But yeah, we held full-time jobs doing this. And so it was a labor of love, and rehearsing in the evenings, rehearsing on the weekends, performing. And Eduardo would be late to a rehearsal, and we'd ask him why. And he said he was watching Star Trek. You remember that?
No. Culturally also,
Not me.
Culturally and musically, the music that we were all doing at that time was an extension of the way the corridos were during the Mexican Revolution. In those days, a lot of people either couldn't read or they didn't have money to buy a newspaper. And so the music became their way of communicating. And everywhere the song went from town to town, they would add a verse or two in order to tell the whole story. That's why Persecución de Francisco Villa is about 36 verses long. And so the music that we were doing was basically doing the same thing and promoting the cause of our gente, the farm worker, the struggles in the urban districts, all of it. Like I Am Joaquin, we put music to I Am Joaquin. And so it was telling a story more than just entertaining people for the sake of entertainment.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
serving a purpose for our community. And of course, we weren't going to take money for that, but we all had to put up money in order to do it.
And you know, and we were learning along the way too, because we found that some groups that were emerging really thought that their message was more important than communicating with people. So they, you know, they present at a rally or something, and they preach to people, and people, you know, those who were like with the same group or in the same boat understood it, but they weren't gathering any audience of local people de la gente, del pueblo. And so I know that I remember at one time we just said, well, maybe we should like dress like the other groups do. And we got guayaberas, and we had the same, we ordered some pants. I went to go pick up the pants because everybody had taken measurements, and they messed up on everybody's pants. I mean, like Clay had some pants were like my size and my length, you know. But anyway, one of the things that we did learn is we needed to be more humble in our presentations and less preachy, because not only did we present the music, but there was also transitions, verbal transitions. And we had to be careful that what we were saying wasn't going to insult people. And I remember that there was a period of about 7 shows, it felt like, that we kind of had bombed. Well, you know, so we learned from that.
I don't remember that.
Huh? You don't remember that?
Ever bombing.
No, we were.
Well, I remember one time we're in Laney College, and the whole audience were Cubans, and we're singing Cuban music, but from the revolution.
Oh,
that was not a real good. That was not a good thing, you know.
Yeah, it's
and
like,
so I mean, that's
read
what
the
I'm saying
room.
is that we had to learn how to read our audience.
Yeah.
And so even though we were doing these kinds of things, we were learning too. We're learning how to communicate in that way.
Well, and other groups influenced the sound too. We borrowed because we liked their style or particular way they well, like Siete Leguas, for example, you know, that was influenced by the East Coast version of the song too. Which was Clay, you know, Clay's influence.
I'm wondering if we can we have a
yeah, Clay and Carlos Puebla was a huge influence. And then our communications with the Chileans, we started doing, we did
Inti Limani.
Limona. We did a lot of a lot of songs that are not on the album. We had a pretty good repertoire of international songs.
Yes.
And also our old corridos. We also had a lot of corridos that we would play.
Oh, yes.
Pancho Villa.
And then we used to rehearse to The Lion Sleeps Tonight. To do some vocalese.
Yeah.
Okay, who can hit the high note now?
Okay. We have time for, I think, perhaps one more remark. And I just wonder, you know, in the last couple of minutes, we had a chance to hear from you all about sort of summing up what Flor stood for in that moment for all of you. So does anyone have like one more comment just to say, you know, as we look back from here in 2021, just one more comment about what Flor
like Richie does.
What it stood
Yeah,
for.
I don't know how you might take this as very relevant, but around 92, I studied with Los Muñequitos at Stanford in a workshop. And at that time, you can talk to them. They were just regular people, you know, but they were like the best in the world at what they did. So I gave them a Flor CD or tape. They came back the following year and I met the same guys. He goes, all of Cuba has heard that music. So everybody there knows this music.
Wow.
Yeah. Got right out of, that was out of the leader's mouth. I mean, they're the greatest in the world.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's great to hear not just the story of being inspired by this music and responding to it with the original songs that Flor created, but that in hearing Flor's music in Latin America, that it was embraced as well. And I think with that, I want to sort of thank all of you for sharing your stories and of your activism, your music, and your creativity. And I want to sort of transition here because some members of the group got together recently to pay tribute to one of the members who is no longer with us. And so I wanted to ask if Pancho or Deb or Ed want to talk about the song Little John of God, because we want to share the video that you all recorded.
I think both should.
Go ahead, Debs.
No, I think you should.
Well, it's Little John of God is a song, a Los Lobos song. And Felipe, I mean, there'd be no Flor del Pueblo without Felipe. And it was one of his favorite songs. It spoke about his own faith because he was a strong man of faith. And this song really reached out to him. Very short little tune, but it was his favorite Los Lobos tune. And so we felt that if we did this, a tribute to him, because I know I felt for me that this whole thing that we're doing is a tribute to Felipe and to our brother. Our brother's love of music and man of faith and journey and culture. And so I asked if we could do this song, and we did do it.
Thank you, Pancho, for sharing that. So if we could see the video that was recorded recently by some members of the group. This is Flor del Pueblo performing Little John of God by Los Lobos.
This song is dedicated to Felipe Rodriguez, our brother, one of the founders of Flor del Pueblo. This is one of his favorite Lobo songs. 1, 2, ready, go.
He can't run, he can't play, he does things in a different way. Little John of God. He tries to speak, but no one hears a little boy's pain and a little boy's fear. Little John of God. He talks to us from a paper to touch our hearts with special love, Little John of God. What others only say inside. Little John of God. Little John of God. Little John of God. Little John of God.
Viva Felipe.
Amen.
Yeah. That's a beautiful tribute to the memory of Felipe. Thank you all for coming together and performing that song. We want to thank Fernando of Create TV and everyone who helped him in making that video as well. And so let me take this opportunity to thank again all of our guests, Deborah, Yolanda, Enrique, Eduardo, Pancho, Ben, and Richard. Thank you all for sharing your stories, sharing your experiences. This has been an absolutely beautiful event, and we appreciate all that you were able to give to us tonight. And so with that, I want to pass the microphone back to Maria Cruz.
Well, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of these stories and these beautiful music and just the rich history. There are 2 other songs performed, Punto y Raya and Sol del Pueblo, along with additional images of the group we shared on La Raza Historical Society Facebook page beginning tomorrow. And so we invite you to do that. We will put the La Raza Historical Society of Santa Clara, their webpage, so you can check that out on the chat. And you can view all of this tomorrow or pass it along. Also, thank you to all the people who put this together, the committee. There's many of you, Carlos Velasquez, Erlinda Yanez, Rosana Alvarez, Gregorio Moratores, Esteban Escona, Adriana Garcia, myself, also Gilberto Zavala. And also a special shout out to other production team members, Fernando Julian Perez with Create TV and SJSU alumni, Jasmine Gomez with Mais. And so without further ado, we'll now open it up to Q&A, and I'll hand the mic over to Erlinda. Mil gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. So we had 2 questions that came in the chat that I will share with you all. The first question is, has Flor del Pueblo discussed re-releasing their first album?
No, but we should discuss that. I guess we could just do a recording and put it on a recording of the actual album and put it on iTunes. I believe that would be in order.
Kiki, do you still have the original tape?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay. I just thought that's where it landed or something.
I think it's going to have to be off an album from,
Yeah.
We don't have.
No, the last I heard, Clay had the masters.
Ah,
Master Clay. I thought he gave it to us.
I have the 2-inch.
Mm-hmm.
I have the 2-inch tape, but it's not mixed down. And it is old. So
hey, maybe Grady has it.
No, the 1/4-inch. No, we haven't figured out who could possibly have it. It got lost in the wash. But maybe somebody could take out the clicks. I have new albums. I have 2 new ones. So off one of the new ones, we should get a pretty clean thing. So that's the answer. There's the rest of this discussion probably should go on somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have somewhere 3, maybe 4 in the jacket. I think one of them might still have the cellophane unopened, so it would be pretty clean.
Yeah, I have a couple of boxes.
I have new ones.
Yeah, me too.
So it's available.
Thank you. Thank you. The next,
Linda?
yes, the next question is, did Mexican singers like Lucha Reyes, Lucha Villa, or Lola Beltran influence you?
Luciana. Yes.
Not really, not me.
Not me. I mean, I love their type of music, the rancheras and stuff, which I loved growing up and listening to as an adult, but didn't influence me as far as part of the Chicano movement and songs that we sang.
I like Ed's mullet.
Very nice.
Linda, somebody mentioned tomorrow, that something could be seen tomorrow. Could you repeat that?
Oh, that was Maria Cruz who was saying that the photos and 2 other songs are going to be on the La Raza Historical Society page starting tomorrow. And we did put the link in the chat and we can repaste it for you all again.
That'll officially make us Jurassic Chicanos.
Jurassic.
Yes. We is old.
Somebody told me, you know, Cesar Flores, everybody knows Cesar?
Yeah.
He was told that he says that we were veteranos, and he says, no, we're now the elders.
Right. Yes, he is.
Sin querer.
He's a bishop.
Takes one to know one.
That's a photo of our family's church in Sal Si Puedes.
I thought you said it was Adobe.
That's in Texas.
That's in Texas.
that's in Texas? Oh, yeah.
There's your grandfather and your grandmother.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah. That's before my dad was born, so it's way before your mom was born.
That was before I was born.
No, I don't think so. You're the oldest. That's Kiki playing a bass.
I know.
I have no idea how it ended up that way.
You played the bass.
And you can still play guitar.
That's when I played guitar, yeah.
San Jose State.
By Jesus Media Garza.
And I had a hell of a time convincing Debbie to play the piano in the recording.
Oh, that's right.
That was rough.
You did it.
Milagros.
Yeah. Hey, I'm taking piano now still. I love it, but it's hard.
That's fun.
There's Manuel and
There's
Connie
Manuel.
and Adrian.
Connie.
And Deborah.
Yep. Debs, is that Lori?
That's Dolores, yeah. Mhm.
Great picture.
Oh, there's the Olga Talamante
There's Olga.
event.
Oh, yeah.
There's Olga and her mom and dad.
Uh-huh.
Where's your mandolin?
No mandolin there.
Ni chicha ni limona.
Ray Suarez.
Yeah, there's the teenage.
Lucero. Compadre.
That's Annie Lucero, yeah.
That's the touring teens.
Touring teens, yeah.
And Ben with his
No.
that's
I didn't
Deb,
have-
Felipe, and myself.
I didn't have my peace sign on then.
You did have your peace sign in that other one.
Good.
That's
Okay, that's the Baptist. That's our church.
Ah.
In
I
South-
don't think so.
Yeah,
Jueves. Yeah, that's San Jose.
It
Yeah.
is.
Jueves.
yep. That's the adobe.
the Jackson Kings, eh?
Yeah. Uncle Larry is there.
Oh yeah, that's that one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's still there. My sister's on the chat. It's still there.
Mexico, the pyramids.
There's a woman who is a caregiver for our Aunt Abby, and her mother is the preacher at that church today.
Wow.
It's a Penal Festival, Mexico City, and the photo is by Jesus Garza.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
The date is wrong. It's 1974.
Oh, it says 74.
Somebody on the chat said 73.
No, it's 74.
That's Cesar.
That's
Is
what
that you,
Cesar got married.
Flores?
I had to put in my 2 cents worth here.
Very
Hey.
nice.
Mr. Elder.
That's a-
The elder.
Pueblo.
There's Helen. See Helen up there?
Cesar, and Sonia.
Bueno, gracias everyone. I can share photos, but they will be at the La Raza Historical Society Facebook page, along with some of the other photos, videos that we've been sharing. I know that there's been so many of you that are here, been listening, and there's so many of you who are also veteranos that are here. So we do want to, we're almost done here, but we did want to open up this space for anybody that's been listening who would want to share any words or thoughts about what they've heard today. Just want to make sure we open it up. So feel free to unmute yourself and share if you'd like.
I would like to say a few. I'd like to thank who put this program together, because there's a lack of our history. And most of it is our fault, because we're so busy making history that we did not take time to document, and we need to document our history. So thank you so much.
I agree with that, Cesar. I know we made it forward. This is Olga Talamante, and of course you were part of bringing me home, being released from Argentina, from that prison in Argentina. So thank you, Flor del Pueblo. And there are several comrades who were part of the Olga Talamante Defense Committee that remember doing the benefits and work, singing at La Peña. And so I just want to give you a big corazón, muy abierto. Muchas gracias.
Abrazos.
Abrazos, mija.
My name is Javier. I just want to give a shout out to Kiki and Eduardo and Yolanda when we were in San Juan Bautista with Luis Valdez doing the teatros with the creation of los corridos. And Beto is in the house somewhere, but Beto was there, and I was listening to what you said, Kiki. It was a heartwarming period, and Beto also was my maestro that I started learning the guitar from too. So saludos.
Thank you for making the music of our life. When we were, this is Josie. I think I hold on. You guys were the music that we danced to. You were the music that inspired us to create change in our community. And Debbie, especially for you, I don't know if you remember, I went to middle school right there in Valdez, and I would gravitate to your church every chance I had, because you guys sang music and instituted Catholic church. So thank you for the inspiration and for creating history in San Jose. All of you. Hey, Ben, where are you? You're here. I don't know. Pancho, thank you for your music. Ed, Richard, Ricky. Thank you. Kiki, all of you. Yolanda, you made our life amazing. As a Chicana dancer to your music, I was complete.
Hey, you guys.
Thank you for your words, for your writing.
Hey, I just bought a fancy schmancy phonograph. It's an Audio Technica. It's a Pro. It's a big machine. It's got a USB to go straight to a computer. So you could play your record on it and get the best possible recording of it. You should put out your record. It's a piece of musical history, and there are so many generations.
Hey, Maria, I wanted to just say a shout out to Robert Ojeda, another veteran musical there. I see that he's in the audience and definitely a good contributor.
Yeah.
Saludos a Kiki and all the compañeros Flor del Pueblo. This is Beto Ruiz. Hey, I played guitarra with Enrique, with Kiki there. and learn how to eat sardines. Sardines every day of the week with Teatro Campesino. Great cuisine, man. Muchas gracias por la música y el espíritu que nos dieron a la gente y a nuestro movimiento. Nos dieron aliento. Thank you so much. We will not forget that. God bless you.
Beto's part of our
We played with
family.
Beto at the Chicano Moratorium.
That's right. And I don't remember what happened after we played that. You went your way and I went mine.
Yes, we.
Hey, we got tear gas. We got tear gas. Yeah, my guitar was broken by the cops there.
But it was an honor to be with you in such an important event. We try to make a mark and we go forward.
You know, I'd like to just do a shout out to Lenore the Cruz, who has been an archivist for all of us for the last 50 years. And so I want to also thank her and acknowledge her.
Mom and Dad and Theo, thank you for doing this. It feels like kind of a long time coming to me that you guys would share this in a public space. And so I love you guys and I just honor you, and all the heavies came out to support. So thank you, Gente, for coming to support. And I look up to all of you, and also shout out to my former professor, Chuy Covarrubias. And thank you everybody for showing up and supporting.
Yeah.
Love you, mija.
Thank you, mija. Love you.
I just
Good
wanted
to see
to
you.
put in my 2 cents, if that's possible. I just wanted to say thank you to all you Baptists out there. Even though my nuns told me that you're all going to hell, you are wonderful. A plus.
Jesus Garza.
Jesus.
All the Baptists from Texas.
Photos here.
A Baptist basher.
I went to school with that guy. Speaking as a Tejano. Jesus.
I'd like to share a thought.
I would just like to say I'm so thankful to Carlos Velasquez and Adriana, because they've done some really amazing work to kind of bring forward, the Chicano history of San Jose, and especially with the focus of the activistas of San Jose. So I'm deeply grateful, and it's so wonderful to see Flor del Pueblo honored in this way, and to learn, from all the hard work that you've done, and the places you've been and experiences you've had, and how you continue. I know each one of you in your way continues to stand up for justice for our people. So thank you very much.
We used to rehearse at Elisa's house.
Yep, we rehearsed there many, many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gil.
Hi, I'm Gil Villagran, and I was your #1 fan because I attended every event that you guys did. I have an album and I play it all the time, and I think I'm running out of, I'm wearing it out, but if you produce another album or make a copy of it, I'm sure a lot of people will buy it. So please do so. When in 1970, after the Chilean coup d'etat, we brought Chilean refugees to San Jose through Father Moriarty at Sacred Heart Church.
Yep.
And we would have fundraisers with Fred Hirsch and Father Moriarty. And you guys were the first group that came and performed for the refugees. And they were amazed that we had such beautiful music that was not Chilean music. So the thing is that the Chilenos thought that the Chicanos were, ¿qué son estos Chicanos? No hablan español. they had a lot of hangups with our gente. But it was Fred Hirsch and I that had to bring him on board. And so anyway, thank you. I love you guys.
Love you, Gil.
Yeah, I want to say thank you for knowing you guys. You guys, I came from Texas to California, and you guys, I ran into you guys in after I was there for a while. But then also, I was in a
Bobby!
Hey, Robert.
But then I was also in a production in San Diego in Zoot Suit. They did Zoot Suit around 90 something, and Kiki's son was in it. He played the part, and I got to meet him. I got to meet his son. You know, so yeah.
And you probably met his wife too.
I don't know. Was she in the production?
Yes, she was a dancer.
Oh, okay, yeah. But I just remember him, you know, but that was a thing because we kept saying, well, you know, do you know my dad? You know my dad? And I go, well, I know of him. I don't know him personally, but I know of him, you know. And then you went up to Hollywood, man. You're a Hollywood star, you see. And so I tell that to everybody. I say, hey, I know that guy. And everybody goes, yeah, right. But anyway, so it was great. And I still remember Felipe. One of the things I remember about Felipe was we had this late night one time and we were hungry, man. We wanted to eat, but you know, like with the diabetes and stuff like that, and me with my weight and stuff, you know, we were drinking tea. We were connoisseurs of tea. That's what. So I thought that was really exciting there.
What was in that tea?
Yeah. No, it was good tea.
Tequila.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sunny and the sun glows.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for the beautiful stories. Wow, this is the hello. Can y'all hear me? Hello.
Yeah, we got you.
We're gonna formally end the you know, chat and stuff. But if you want to continue to chat, you know, we'll stay on. But we wanted to formally thank everybody again. Muchas gracias por todo. This was beautiful, and I'm so glad that it's recorded and we will have this archived again at La Raza Historical Society. So that'll be beautiful. It'll be housed there. And so I just want to say thank you. My little doggy wants to say thank you. Taka. Pero gracias a the committee, again, Carlos Velasquez, Elena Yañez, Rosana Alvarez, Gregorio Moratores, Esteban Oscona, Adriana Garcia, Maria Cruz, me. Special shout out again to the Fernando Julian Perez with the Create TV, SJC alumni, Jasmine Gomez with Maíz, but also thank you, Flor del Pueblo, Deborah Rodriguez Garcia, Yolanda Perez, Ed Robledo, Francisco Rodriguez, Enrique Castillo, Richard Garcia, and Ben Cadena. Other amazing contributors here are Connie Martinez, Steven Cervantes, Helen Nanjara Reyes, and hopefully I got everybody. But please stay on if you want to continue to chat. I don't by any means want to end this party or after party. Pero mil gracias. Thank you for being here and joining us. And so we formally end the program now. But stick around if you want to stay for the after party and keep on chatting. We'll stay on. Gracias.
I'd like to thank the committee.
Yes.
And you did an excellent job. Thank you for just your heart and your just corazón and everything for welcoming us so beautifully and documenting this event. Thank you especially to Esteban and Gregorio, all of the committee, but especially I want to thank my family, my husband, Richard, Frida, our technical support that are support in every aspect, and our daughter, Elia, her husband, David, and our grandkids. I'm just grateful to be here. And I want to thank our family and friends that joined us this evening. I see your beautiful faces. God bless you.
I want to thank my son, who's had a hard time getting in here, but I think he was able to get there. And his wife and her little grandson, Frankie, and I mean, all of you, you were so welcoming and you put up with us. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Thank you again so much. from the bottom of my heart, I thank you very much for all of your effort.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a final thought to thank the hosts for the interest in the group, preserving the legacy of the music and the group, being able to see everybody again, hearing the old stories and reliving the wonderful experience of the music. And hopefully, you know, we can get that the music to continue. Get it on YouTube or wherever we can. You know. I know several people that have heard it, people around the world actually, that said, oh yeah, we heard that song that you guys did with that group. I said, oh, you mean Flor del Pueblo? I said, yeah, that one. People in Holland, people in South Africa. So it's still out there and people really like it. So it would be nice, and I appreciate the fact that you guys are preserving it even more.
We can't forget, we can't leave out Russell Rodriguez, who's been not only such a deep part of this project, but many projects and a big part of our heart and what he's done and continues to do. Dr. Russell Rodriguez.
Right. And we love you, Felipe. We love you, Ramiro. We love you, and Clay. We miss you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Adios, everybody.
Yeah, y abrazos a todo el grupo.
This is wonderful to be able to see each other. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Hey, you look good, ese.
Huh?
You look good, ese.
Take care, everybody, get vaccinated.
I didn't recognize Ed with that beard.
Oh yeah, that's not me.
It's what you used to have up here with there.
Hey, Robert. Hey, Robert.
I hope we do this again. I hope we do this again.
Yeah,
I hope we do this again. I hope we do this again.
Robert, so great to see you, brother.
Tequila.
Take care, bro.
That song was written by Carlos Puebla.
Who's the person who thinks you could be a longing tribe? I'd like to get her information.
Thank you, guys. Great stories.
These are invisible maracas.
Esto.
Carlos.
Gracias.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Esteban.
After party.
Thank you, Esteban. Bye, Deborah. Bye, Richard.
Bye,
La
Yoli.
R says ciao.
That was then.
Great job, Ed.
Thanks.
Good night, comadre.
Thank you.
Shout out Lupe Lujan.
Hey, Manuel Martinez, hello.
Manuelito, how are you, my brother?
Hey, there's Randy Sollers up there.
Yeah, Randy's there.
Hey,
Manuel, you look good.
and here.
Say something, ese.
It's hard to leave, you know? It's hard to leave.
Ondas.
So good to see you all.
Hi, Yoli.
Hey,
Bye, after party.
Pancho's house.
Hey, Pancho.
Hey, come on over.
We're coming.
I hope
Richie.
I hope we do this again. Wonderful.
I don't know who that is, but
It's Consuelo.
I saw Cynthia up there. Cynthia is up there.
You know who the last ones are at the party?
Who's doing the run, Cesar?
I'm always here, bro.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna send you a picture, Cesar. I got a picture.
I'll buy if you fly.
All right. Yeah, I got plenty of booze in my man cave. Come on over. I got my shots already.
Rabies too.
What you drinking, Deborah?
Water.
Ah, yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right. Orange juice.
Mujeres.
Hey.
Comadres.
Dorinda, ¿por qué te escondes?
Okay, Cesar, tell me if you got your picture. I just sent you a picture.
Oh, what?
Your phone.
Look at my
That's
phone.
all right.
Hey, where's
Look at my
Kathy?
phone.
Hey.
Cynthia.
Hey.
Rosa. There's Kathy.
Hi, I've been here the whole time, but I've been comfy on the couch.
I don't blame you.
Hi, Mom.
Hey, Rosa.
Hi, comadre. Hi.
I didn't get it.
Cynthia.
Oh, really? You need to call me because I probably don't have your right phone number.
I've had the same phone number for 30 years.
Well, then I have it.
He sent it out.
Am I unmuted? I don't really know. I was told that my messages were going off somewhere and
Oh, wow.
Linda?
So I just pressed a button. Here I am.
That's Dorinda.
Hey, answering to Cesar.
Hey.
I was just didn't press the right button to get in, and finally I did. So here I am.
Wow, a long time.
Wow. Nice to see so many friends that and I